If you're new to wholesaling, this video is for you. These are 3 of the fastest and cheapest ways to get your first deal done. Let's go! What's up, Rafael Cortez here, back on the Wholesaling Business Blueprint. If you're new to wholesaling and you want to get your first deal done fast, these are the top 3 ways of how to go about it, all right? When I started wholesaling 10 years ago, the resources that I'm going to talk about right now were not so readily available, right? When it came down to marketing, everything was expensive, everything was hard to do, the data was not reliable, it was just a lot harder to get your hands on solid sellers. Granted, the market wasn't as busy with wholesalers as it is now, but the opportunity to get to sellers was also challenging. So there was a give and take, right? It's almost like pick your poison, type of deal. But now, fast forward 10 years, there's a lot more resources. There's a lot more data banks and more solid information than there used to be back then. So just to give you a little bit of perspective, I mean, back then it was direct mail all the way, which is expensive. Door knocking was another way to do it. However, it was usually done the wrong way because of the data and the quality of the information that we got. And then the third one, PPC, pay-per-click. That's when pay-per-click started getting popular. But it also became one of those things that got, radically expensive right out of the gate. So if you were starting off, all those things were pretty much off limits, but that's the past. Now understand that most new wholesalers fail at this because they don't know where to start. It's not what happened after they had a seller. It's not what happened after, they're trying to sell a deal. It's not that. It's just they don't know where to start. And after a month or two of just, kind of running around like, chickens with their heads cut off, they just give up. And these are 3 ways. These are 3 solid ways of getting started, solid, cheap ways of getting started. And now, because we're leveraging technology, higher quality data, and the big pockets of some of the biggest organizations out there that want to do business with you, believe it or not, you have a better shot at it. So this is how we go about it. These are 3 ways that can get you to your first deal fast and cheap. Number 1, if you don't have a seller, if you're just getting into this and you don't have a seller, the easiest thing to go after is going to be buyers, all right? So you can JV, you can co-wholesale a deal, meaning that you can bring a buyer to somebody who already has a property to sell. And this is how you go about that, right? There is a ton of different strategies of building a buyer's list. Building your buyer's list is not going to be that difficult, right? You start off by number 1. This is super easy. It's a simple website. It's going to blow your mind once you tap into it, but it's gosection8.com, all right? This website is a data bank of investors, right? People who own a lot of the times multiple properties and they're renting out to Section 8 tenants. All right, so crazy thing, you log in, you put your city, whatever your market is, you go in there and then you start, clicking on the properties that pop up on there. On the side, you're actually gonna see a name and a phone number for whoever owns that property. They're the landlord, right? More often than not, it's landlords managing their own property. Sometimes you're gonna come across property management companies and stuff like that, but more often than not, it's gonna be a landlord with a phone number, right? So gosection8.com, that's where you can start to build your buyers list. And what you do is you pick up that number, you call that landlord, and you ask them if they're on the lookout for additional properties. All right, so now you have somebody who's interested. And believe me, if you go through 20, 30 of these numbers, you're gonna get some buyers out of that. So go section8.com. It's a great strategy, free strategy to start building your buyers list in your area. The second one is gonna be going into your real estate investor associations, right? So look up, Google real estate investor associations in your area, in your market, and then start showing up to those. They usually have a segment that's needs and wants. And then you have people who are end buyers, you have wholesalers there, you have hard money lenders, you have all kinds of connections on there. You can start building your power team from that space. But the cool thing is that whenever they start talking about needs and wants, those people who are looking to fix properties will raise their hand. They'll say, I need a property. It's a 3-bed, 2-bath in this certain area. Now you go talk to that person. You tell them, hey, listen, can I add you to my buyer's list? So whenever we get properties like this, I can push them over to you and you get, first dibs into it. That's another way to start building your buyer's list. There's 15 or 20 other strategies to build your buyer's list. I just want to cover these 3 right now. The third one is going to be Facebook groups. So again, go to your market area and then start looking for investor groups. So real estate investor, real estate wholesaler, fix and flip, anything that comes up under those keywords, you can start signing up for those investor groups and then start putting messages, start interacting and dropping messages on those groups, all right? If somebody's marketing a property, ask them a little bit more about the information, all right? Most people in those groups are willing to share information, all right? So reach out to them, shoot them a DM, start building your buyers list like that. Also, on a side note, anytime you have a property, whether you locked it or you're co-wholesaling, use that property as an opportunity to build up your buyers list, all right? So, again, going back to the Facebook groups, ask for information, ask to be put on their buyers list and sign up to every single wholesalers list that you can get on, right? Right now at the beginning, what you're looking for is a funnel of properties. When you have a funnel of properties coming into you in your inbox, you get to see what other people are locking, right? So now you're building your buyers list on one side and then you're getting properties from other wholesalers. What happens is that if you have something that's a match for one of your buyers, you go to that wholesaler and you offer up to JV, joint venture partnership. All right, so you aim for a JV with a 50-50 split, meaning that if you bring the buyer for that wholesaler, you both split the profits 50-50, or you can, have an agreement there. But that's what you do. That's how you get to that first deal. And it doesn't really take you anything other than elbow grease. You're doing some networking, you're doing some research on the Facebook groups, and you're going on to websites to pull together a buyer's list, right? Yeah, you do have to pick up the phone and have conversations with people, and that's just part of the process, all right? So whenever you have, 20, 30 buyers in your list, you can start reaching out to other wholesalers and ask them to send you your properties for JV opportunities. All right, so that's the strategy number one. You co-wholesale with somebody else and you split the profits. And now number two, door knocking. Door knocking works. It's one of the most fearful things to do when it comes to wholesaling, but if you do it right, door knocking works, and it works very, very well. It doesn't get any faster than that, from a point A to point having a conversation with a seller. Why? Because you're right in front of them. All right, so door knocking, you have to do it the right way. I'm not saying go door knock on every single door in a neighborhood, because that's not gonna take you anywhere. If you're taking door knocking, which again is one of the most efficient and effective ways of finding a seller and locking down a deal out there, make sure, I'm emphasizing that, right? It's one of the most effective and efficient ways of getting deals done and cheapest. If you're door knocking, you have to do it the right way. All right, and what I mean by that is this: you want to, anytime you go door knocking, you want to do at least 25 properties, right? And you want to do it the right way. So what you're going to do is you're going to reach out to your title company. You're going to get plugged in with a title company, and you're going to ask them for lists, all right, for seller lists. You're going to tell them that you're having a marketing campaign in the area, and then you're going to request specific areas, and you need seller information. They have access to databases. They buy databases, all right? So they'll give you lists of people with specific niches. For example, they can pull up a absentee owner list. They can pull up a high equity list and give you that list. Sometimes they'll come with the phone numbers on them. Actually, most of the time, the quality of the phone numbers is not going to be that great, so you want to skip trace them. But for the purpose of door knocking, you can ask them for a pre-foreclosure list, all right? Ask them for a pre-foreclosure list, and then look at all those properties. These are people who are being served a pre-foreclosure notice, all right? So they're behind on their payments, and now they have a certain amount of time to catch up. Either that or the property goes back to the bank and the pre-foreclosure process happens. Depending on what state you're in, the regulations are different, but the principles, as you approach the title agency are the same. So reach out to your title agency, ask them to give you a list of pre-foreclosure properties or records, and then you see those property addresses and you make a list. You want to hit at least 25. Anytime you go door knocking, you want to hit at least 25 properties every time you're out, all right? Aim for 25. If you have conversations with them, you may not get to the 25, which is a good thing because now you have solid leads, all right? But you want to aim for 25 and build out your routes, all right? Don't go around just, like a crazy person driving all over the place. Just build routes, be methodical about it, hit 25 of those. Another list that you can ask them for is going to be the 60-day lates list. Okay, so these are people who are 60-day late on their mortgage. They're not in pre-foreclosure yet, but they're well on their tracks. The distress is definitely there. All right, so that's another list that you can tap into. You can also go to the city and then get code violation lists. Also look at the property addresses and then create routes after that. But if you're door knocking, you want to do it the right way, right? You want to be methodical about the addresses that you're hitting. And you want to be, methodical about the routes. A couple of great strategies on door knocking. You can have a binder next to you. Just have a pre-written letter of, hey, listen, I'm interested in buying your property, or I would like to talk to you about a property. It can be a letter. It can be a post-it note where you actually, if you don't have an answer at the door, you can put that on their door. And then, leave your phone number on there. Hopefully they'll reach back out, right? But now you planted a seed for a conversation that you can follow up with. So that's another great way to do it. If you go door knock and they don't open the door, it doesn't mean that nothing happened, right? You leave a note behind. Now you planted that one seed for future follow-up, all right? If you want to do door knocking the right way, you can use an app. There's a couple of different apps. We love the batch-driven app. It'll create routes. It'll skip trace. You can send direct mails from there. And as you're driving, it's insane. But as you're driving the neighborhood, you can look at your phone and then see where the app is at, and it'll map out your routes. It'll map out exactly where you're at. It'll give you property information on the people in there. It's insane. And the app is batch-driven. We'll drop the links on the show notes below. Number 3. Cold calling, all right? Cold calling is a great way to reach a massive amount of people in a short time, especially if you're using strategies like a power dialer, that sort of stuff. There's going to be a lot of rejection. Here in cold calling, the magic is in the volume, all right? The magic is in the number of people that you're reaching out to. But again, you do the same thing. You can go to title and you can ask for all the typical lists, right? If you go to your title agency and you tell them, hey, listen, I need a absentee owner list. I need a high equity list. I need vacant. Sometimes they'll have vacant property lists. And then what they'll do is they'll put you on that drip and start sending you on a regular basis a list via email of the properties that match that description. Now, what you do is you take those and you're gonna have to skip trace, all right? So this one costs a little bit in the dialer and then on the skip tracing. Again, sometimes title will give you phone numbers with the list that they send you, but the importance is in the quality of the data, right? The quality is not going to be all that great, especially if it's free stuff, right? So you can get your free lists from title, save some cash there, and then skip trace, and then cold call them through a power dialer. Now, if you want to kick it up a notch, you can also pull lists from services like Batch Leads, and they have all the typical lists. Again, they have absentee owner, vacant, all that stuff. But you can actually map out a whole area and then pull lists of the cash buyers in the area, vacant properties in the area, tax delinquents, tired landlords. It's insane how they get the tired landlords one, but it's a lot of good, high quality information in one single place, right? So you can pull a list, you skip trace, and then you put them up on your power dialer, and you start prospecting that way via cold calling, all right? So these are 3 fast and cheap ways to get your first deal. The first 2 are not going to cost you too much. And I mean, there's going to be some gas money involved and that sort of thing if you go through title. So I would highly, highly, highly suggest that you start creating a power team relationship with a title company that's in your area so you can tap into their resources, right? If you want to find out more about how to do this and how to put it all together, we have the whole breakdown of this and a lot more in the Wholesaling Business Blueprint. For that, go to the Wholesaling Inc. website /WBB. Again, wholesalinginc.com/WBB, and then sign up for a conversation. All right, so that's how we break that stuff down. These are 3 ways where you can start tapping into some deals out there, right? The first one, again, it's going to be via co-wholesaling. The second one is going to be door knocking. It takes a little bit of a thicker skin to get to that point, but it works. It's one of the most effective ways to get deals done. And the third one is going to be cold calling, where you're reaching out to the masses and it's more of a volume play as opposed to this laser targeted, type of one-off approach. At the end of the day, quality matters, all right? So if you're pulling data, make sure that you're pulling it from the right spot. In my business, I use batch services all day long. So I highly, highly recommend those. The links are going to be below. If you want to check them out, use the promo code CEO and tap into all the resources and stuff they have for you. Now, you know the drill. If you like what I'm talking about, or you know somebody who might like what I'm talking about, make sure that you subscribe, like, and share. Stay focused. You got this.